You see a mountain lion coming straight towd you. What do you do? What do you do if a kraken-sized squid attacks your surfboard and latches onto it? Or how would you react if you saw a great white beside your kayak? Speaking of which, the shark meetup shows a dangerously close encounter between a kayaker and a great white shark. The man went fishing with his friends in San Mateo County, California. They rented the kayaks, went out to sea, and started fishing. Lucas DeCasper managed to catch the first fish. He started filming it with his GoPro right over the water's surface. All of a sudden, a great white shark appeared. The man panicked and immediately pulled the fish away from the water because if the shark had leaped upward, he would have been gone. He also yanked the fishing rod out of the water because DeCasper knew the shark would have pulled him under if the shark bit the pole. After the incident, they started to return to the beach, but the shark didn't leave them alone. It was darting above and below their kayaks, but the two friends got to safety unharmed. Unfortunately, they didn't have video footage of the second encounter with the great white. Next up, we have the angry elephant. Ivan Carter's a host of a popular wildlife TV show. He's a conservationist, and in one of the episodes, he was told that an elephant had been wounded nearby. As they moved closer and closer, the obstacles became greater. They knew they were close because more elephants started appearing around them. But one was not happy to see them. When the two men approached him, he charged straight toward them with a thundering trumpet. They stood their ground. When the elephant saw that they meant him no harm, he stopped dead in his tracks, turned away, and headed in the opposite direction. One wrong move, and this episode would have turned into a horror show. And now comes the snakeboarding. Did you know that rattlesnakes can also swim? They adapt well in the water, and sometimes people have found them several miles out at sea. Anthony Bacciocco and his teenage friends found that out the hard way. They decided to take their boat out on Folsom Lake, California, and spent the day swimming and having a good time. However, they saw a deadly snake approaching them. One friend recognized the rattler on its tail and realized this was no ordinary water snake. It was a rattlesnake. And at first they were laughing and cracking jokes about how the snake wanted to climb on board. But as they were looking at it, the snake started slithering up the back of the boat. The group started panicking. One of them said to his friend, "Go fast, he's on the boat." The captain turned on the engines, and luckily they managed to get away from the snake before it got on board. A man from Utah decided to go on a hike early in the morning. Everything was fine until the man noticed something strange in the distance. When he noticed the animal in the distance, he pulled out his camera and started recording. The animal picked up his scent and started approaching. As the animal drew closer, the hiker saw it was a wild cougar. He ran away, cursing and swearing, thinking the cougar would leave him alone. It didn't. The cougar followed the man for about 3 minutes while the man kept walking backwards and shouting, "Go away." At the 3-minute mark, the animal began doing this. We could hear that the hiker was frightened by what he saw, but the cougar was relentless. Then, all of a sudden, the cougar got scared and smashed that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, the cougar got scared and ran away. We don't know what happened or why, but we know that the hiker got out of there alive and has never returned to the same route again. And then we have the kraken attack. How would you react if you went surfing and a giant squid attacked you from below? Well, that's exactly what happened to this man. While he and his friends were on the water, a giant squid surfaced from the depths and latched itself onto the surfboard. The man was scared, and he tried to unhook the squid's tentacles from his board. However, he then realized that the animal just wanted to play. Luckily, he wasn't attacked, so he got on top of the board once again and tried to slowly remove the giant animal so he could get back to the shore. But before he could set himself free, the man needed to remove all the ropes tangled between his surfboard and the squid. Before we show you this video, we must tell you it's triggering. A man was hiking in Russia's Far East, known as Kamchatka. The forest is very secluded, and this Russian man came across a brown bear. Instead of running away, he started filming the animal and drew closer and closer to it. Seeing that the bear wasn't noticing him, he decided to, and we can't believe we're saying this, kick the bear. The bear turned to see who was dumb enough to kick him. You could see the bear was a little stunned by the incident. It couldn't believe anyone would dare attack it, but this man did. A few seconds later, the bear charged straight at him, roaring at the top of its lungs, and even bit the guy's hand. He escaped with his life, but you could hear him say, "It F-word attacked me. It bit through my hand," as if he wasn't expecting the bear to do such a thing. Next comes alligator encounter. Andrew Grande Sr. went to Clear Creek with his son and daughter near their home in League City. AJ, his son, was only 5 years old, while Bambi, his daughter, was 4. The father was standing a few feet away from his son and daughter, trying to pick something up, when he noticed an 11-foot alligator bobbing his head in and out of the water. The man saw that the gator was a few yards away from his children and ran to save them. Before the animal could even get close, this man picked up his children and threw them over the fence to safety. Luckily, the gator didn't harm anyone. They later called the game warden, who captured the alligator, and it was given to the local zoo. The family says they'd be glad to visit the alligator at the zoo. Let's not forget about the silverback gorilla meet and greet. A tour group went deep into the Rwandan jungle to observe the gorillas up close, and the Rwandan jungle did not disappoint. The tour group was standing inches away from a beautiful silverback gorilla. Only the group guides were allowed to look at the gorilla, while the rest of the tourists were told to keep their heads down and not make eye contact. They made sure not to make any sudden movements because a single mistake can be fatal. The group managed to take a few photos up close with the gorilla. Then, as they spoke very slowly and softly, the gorilla wandered off. They all hoped it would come back soon, but it didn't. It looked at the group from a distance for some time before finally leaving them. The hippo surprise is probably one of the most dangerous hippo encounters in the world. Steve Backshall, an animal expert and explorer, decided to learn more about the underwater life of hippos. So he and his team decided to dive down into one of the lakes he knows doesn't have hippos inside. If any hippos were underwater and they noticed the team, they would attack immediately because of their territorial nature. At first, everything seems fine. Steve and his team are diving at the bottom of the lake while a boat is circling above them in case something unexpected happens. And guess what? Something unexpected did happen. They found themselves just a few yards away from a hippo. The hippo was looking straight at them. Steve immediately contacted the boat crew and informed them that there was a hippo underwater. The team panicked because they couldn't do anything to help them. Nothing is faster than a hippo underwater. And if that big guy decided to attack, it would have been fatal. However, the animal decided to retreat for some reason, and the divers immediately swam back to the shore. Then the boat came around and picked them up before leaving the lake for good. Steve Backshall later said, "Just the fact that she could be in here and underwater without any sign of it whatsoever from the surface just shows that this place is peppered with hippos and with all kinds of wonderful things, but that was really, really frightening." YouTube thinks you should watch this video next.